Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Roach Jeffrey, and subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our video. The NBA All-Star break is over, and you can't have the return of the NBA regular season without a little bit of drama, and that's what we got on Friday night. Between the Miami Heat and the New Orleans Pelicans, there was a brawl after a little bit of a disagreement on a certain play, and then Jimmy Butler and Naji Marshall got into it. It looked like Jimmy Butler might have got his hand a little bit too close to Naji Marshall's neck, and then Naji Marshall decided to choke out Jimmy Butler's neck for a couple seconds before it got broken up. I'm going to break down what happened between both of these teams and see what the possible ramifications are going to be for the players that were involved in this situation. Now, the Miami Heat, they ended up winning the game, which made Jimmy Butler very happy once it was all said and done, but he was not too happy during the game because here's the clip of the altercation between Jimmy Butler and Naji Marshall.
That's going to be there.
Well,
see Jimmy Butler's pushing on Naji Marshall, got his hand near his neck, and then Naji Marshall put his hand right around Jimmy Butler's neck, choking him out a little bit, and then there is a massive brawl.
We've talked about it. We like Naji because he's there.
And you can't really blame Naji Marshall too much for doing that because he was being pushed by Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler's hand got a little bit too high. And after that, all heck broke loose. All the players got frustrated, and several more players got tossed. Obviously, Jimmy Butler got ejected, which he should have for his push that he did to Naji Marshall. But Naji Marshall got ejected as well, which I know a lot of people are saying what Naji Marshall did was really bad online on Twitter, but still, Naji Marshall had a reason to retaliate to what Jimmy Butler did, but he should not have put his hand around Jimmy Butler's neck. That is a no-no, but it is what it is. At least it wasn't as bad as what Draymond Green did to Yusuf Nurkic. That was the worst play we've seen in the NBA this season. Draymond Green was suspended for a long time, which has really hurt the Warriors' season. I don't really know if either of these guys are really going to be suspended for long. Maybe Naji Marshall gets a game suspension or something like that for choking out Jimmy Butler for a couple seconds, but it's not as bad as it seems. And I do think that overall, if you look at this sort of play, and this occurred back in the 90s, I don't really think there would have been much after this outside of an ejection and a little bit of a fine. But obviously, we are in 2024. Things are different now. You can't do this kind of stuff in the NBA, but people do love drama, and they got a lot of drama with this brawl. It was a massive brawl between these two teams, but still, at least it did finally simmer down, and then Miami ended up finding a way to beat the New Orleans Pelicans, even without Jimmy Butler. The other two players that got ejected as well were Jose Alvarado of the Pelicans and Thomas Bryant of the Heat because they were throwing punches at each other in response to all of this that was going on. And what's so ironic about this is the player that a lot of these guys believe is what started this brawl was Zion Williamson, and he didn't even get ejected. Jimmy Butler said he believed that Williamson flopped on the play that touched off the scuffle, and he said the former number 1 overall pick knew he shouldn't have done that. But obviously, flopping happens in the NBA. Even Jimmy Butler knows all about that. Everybody does it. Then he said Marshall came put his hands on Kevin Love, and that's how it all escalated. And then things deteriorated after that. But still, you know how it is. Players are competitors, and they want to do everything that they possibly can to win. And if a player does something that somebody else doesn't like, then you know that the other players are going to stick up for their teammate, and that's how these brawls occur. And Jimmy Butler, he's got revenge on his mind. We'll beat them the next time, too. We're just a better team, is what he said about the New Orleans Pelicans. So obviously, when you say something of that nature, you got to back it up. But Jimmy Butler was furious. He was smiling as he was walking out after he got ejected. So he's not worried about this at all. I don't think he's going to get any suspension time. Like I said, maybe Naji Marshall might get a game suspension. But overall, this was just a big-time brawl that doesn't really have too many ramifications. It was a misunderstanding on a flop play by Zion Williamson that kind of started all this. And then you had some pushing and shoving, which led to this. But I don't really think it's that big of a deal. Obviously, this isn't a great look for the NBA. You shouldn't have players doing this. But again, they're competitors. It happens all the time in sports. Not saying it's right. But between Jimmy Butler and Naji Marshall, this is something they probably aren't going to forget. And we'll have to see in the future if these two get into any more altercations. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about this brawl and who you really think was to blame for what happened, and whether you think Jimmy Butler Butler was really in the wrong for putting his hand up near Naji Marshall's neck, which caused Naji Marshall to respond, put his hands around Jimmy Butler's throat, which he definitely should not have done, and what you think the possible ramifications are going to be for the players that were involved. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I'll see you next time.